Hi, everyone. As you can see, not my typical studio recording setting, but I wanted to come on because I wanted to talk about this insanity that happened today with Kash Patel testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. As you know, Kash Patel ringing in day two of showing how absolutely incompetent he is to be able to hold the job of director of the FBI. Now, I know most of us probably have certain ideas about the type of person who should hold that job and the role that that person plays. And I can tell you, whatever you think it is, it's not Kash Patel. And I don't know if you've been seeing clips during the day posted on the media, but I'm going to go through a few of them with you right now to show exactly how bad Kash Patel is at what he's doing. But more importantly, how much of a partisan hack Kash Patel is. He is truly the Trump administration DEI hire. Because if you're going to use that standard from the Trump administration that DEI hires are incompetent, incapable of doing their job, only doing what somebody tells them to do, and that they're not qualified, because listen, I don't think that that's the definition of DEI, but if you're going to use that Republican DEI standard, then that is exactly what Kash Patel is. He is the Trump administration's prime example of a DEI hire. And of course, it doesn't hurt that he happens to be a minority. So then Donald Trump can say, oh, look, I'm checking off that box. But here, take a quick listen, because there were some really heated moments today between Patel and some of the Democrats, and I just want to run through a couple of them. So take a quick listen to this one between Eric Swalwell, congressman from California, and Kash Patel.
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein Files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so I have.
You haven't reviewed all of the Epstein Files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all the files.
Alrighty. So, how many of you would think that if your job is FBI director, that you would have actually spent the time reviewing the entirety of the Epstein files? As we can see, Patel is saying that he actually hasn't done it himself. He said, quote, personally, I haven't reviewed the entirety of the Epstein files. So what does that mean? He's either actually getting the information from somebody else who has, which again is a, I think, absurd filter to be using if you're supposed to be answering questions in front of Congress, if you're supposed to be reporting to the President of the United States, and to, frankly, if you are supposed to be telling the American people in the interest of, quote, full transparency, which is what you've promised, Kash Patel, then you really should have looked at the entirety of the Epstein files. So now we know that Patel has no basis grounded in fact to answer the questions that he is being asked today. So if that's the case, why not just say, I cannot answer these questions because I have not personally reviewed these files? No, what he's doing is he's cherry picking information and he's cobbling shit together to be able to serve his dear cult leader so that he doesn't look bad. Actually, frankly, both of them, Patel and Trump. Now, moving on, here's another exchange between Patel and Swalwell. Now, this one's a little bit longer, and it's pretty funny because Patel refuses to tell Congressman Swalwell how many times Donald Trump's name appears in the Epstein files. Take a listen.
You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not
the
released
number at least
anyone's
be 1,000
name
times?
we have not released anyone's
Could it
name in
at
the
least
Epstein
be
files
1,000
that
times?
has not been credible.
Director, could it at
we have
least be 1,000
released
times?
every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can
so
characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times. Which
It's not.
means
It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political
And that
innuendo
includes protecting
so you can go
sexual
out to the
assault victims.
sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising
reclaiming my
article.
time,
But
Director.
keep going, reclaiming your time, because the
Director,
people of California are being underserved by your
If the
representation.
president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released.
Some of you may be saying, well, obviously, Katie, if he hasn't reviewed the entirety of the Epstein files, how can he possibly be able to say how many times Donald Trump's name appears? But you know what Patel has never denied today? He has never denied the reporting that the FBI has tasked a lot of people to go and scour the entirety of the Epstein files to flag every single time that Donald Trump's name has appeared. And we know that that has happened according to all of the media reports. So if that's the case, don't you think somebody would have reported back to the director of the FBI that Donald Trump's name appears X number of times? It's remarkable, though, because if you hear Congressman Swalwell, he gives a range, he gives a number. And of course, Patel's like, no, it's not that, no, it's not that, no, it's not that. But I know it's not that, even though I don't really know what the number is. Get the fuck out of here. Moving on. Here's another clip I want you to listen to, again, between Congressman Swalwell and Kash Patel. I want you to listen really carefully here. Why? Because you're going to see that Kash Patel continues to refuse to acknowledge whether or not he has spoken with Attorney General Pamela Jo Bondi about how many times and whether or not Donald Trump's name appears in the Epstein Files.
Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein Files.
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the
It's a simple
attorney's
question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein Files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed
The question is
painstakingly
simple.
who
Did you
can
tell
be-
the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein Files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out if
Yes
you're
or
going to mock
no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it
Don't wanna
sounds
do
like
it?
you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein Files?
Why don't you try serving your
Director,
constituency
did
by
you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
that Donald
crime in the
So here's the thing. There is no confidentiality, there is no privilege, nothing like that that should cloak or hide or allow them to remain secret, these these communications that they are having. There's no claim of confidentiality that's going to protect these conversations that are being had between Pamela Jo Bondi and Kash Patel. And according to Kash Patel, he's had a lot of conversations about the Epstein Files with Bondi. And yet he can't actually answer this question directly, obviously because Patel is trying to play a game. He's trying to play something fast and loose. He doesn't want to be committed and tied down to a specific answer. Here's another thing that was quite notable about Patel's testimony today, especially throughout Eric Swalwell's questioning. Patel keeps on using the following words. You probably picked up on it if you were following the hearing today. Credible, legally permissible. He keeps on saying, we have released the information that is credible. We have released the information that is legally permissible. Number one, I'm going to call out Patel and say both of those are lies. One, there is no legal standard of credible. There is no legal standard of credible to be able to filter out information and not turn them over in their entirety to the American people. We also know that the Republicans are trying to play that game at House Oversight. Recall, House Oversight issued a subpoena to the Department of Justice. Comer and other Republicans tried to insert the adjective credible, that the files that were going to be turned over from the DOJ, despite efforts by Congressman Robert Garcia as well as Congresswoman Summer Lee, they wanted the entirety of the files. But Comer and other Republicans were like, no. Only the credible information is going to be turned over by the DOJ. In the end, the Democrats won. But now we're hearing it again. It is a party line that is being done by the Republicans right now to justify the limited amount of information that is being turned over. That is not what the subpoena asked for. That was served on DOJ, a lawfully issued and served congressional subpoena that has been served on DOJ. So for Kash Patel to keep on saying, well, credible information's been turned over, credible by whose standard? Credible by whose definition? Oh, credible when it doesn't implicate Trump or other Republicans or other buddies of Trump? Is that what you define as credible, Kash Patel? Legally permissible. What kind of shit is that? He's not a lawyer. And as you heard today, Patel would often say, well, I'm not a lawyer, but you might, or I can't answer that question because I'm not a lawyer. You'll have to ask DOJ. No. Legally permissible. The only thing is this, you're going to see redactions for the protections of the victims, the survivors, whatever, but that's it. No other redaction should be happening here. If your name is in the Epstein Files, even if it is there, quote, innocently, your name should be exposed. End of story. Now, another super heated exchange happened between Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal and Kash Patel. And when I tell you it was heated, I recommend you go and watch the entirety of the exchange. But listen to this particular one, and then I'll have some comments and thoughts on the other side.
Are the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein horrific trafficking ring, are they credible?
Any person with information about ongoing sexual trafficking.
I'm asking you if they're credible.
Ma'am, I'm commenting on the evidence we have.
But
we have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and we will look at it. And the evidence that we have was the same evidence that the Biden and Obama Justice Departments had. And they determined, not me, they determined that that information was not credible.
Patel repeatedly refuses to answer the question as to whether or not the Epstein victims and survivors are credible. It's a disgusting punting of accountability that Patel is doing here. And now here's the thing, though, and it trails off a little bit, but if you heard it, he says very clearly, Patel says very clearly at the end of that clip, that the Biden and the Obama DOJ's, Departments of Justice, didn't find them to be credible. That's another lie. That has never been the findings by the Biden DOJ or the Obama DOJ, that the Epstein victims were not credible. So for the FBI director, Kash Patel, to make that statement is such an egregious, disgusting indictment of the credibility and the trustworthiness of these Epstein victims and survivors. And if I were them, I would go after him. I would go after him because that's disgusting. And then here's another clip that I wanted to play for you between Jayapal and Patel. And let me tell you something. If you also listen to Patel, what he's trying to do here is he's, again, dodging this idea that he's going to address the credibility of the victims. But then listen what he says as to who authorized the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen.
Victims credible or not?
I'll tell you what happened in the last Trump administration.
Are they credible or not? You can't even say.
Victims credibly came forward, and you know what happened? President Trump authorized the indictments of Jeffrey Epstein.
Called them
not Biden,
a hoax.
not Obama.
President Trump
no one else.
called the entire thing a Democratic hoax. So I would like to ask
the gentlelady's time has expired. I gave her the additional 45 seconds she requested. The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for his 5 minutes.
If you would meet with the women who were sexually abused and raped and groomed at the ages of 14 and 16 years old. Are you going to cover up? Are you going to continue to cover up for the rich and powerful men, including those that might be on this committee?
Okay, so I'm not sure if you heard this, but according to Kash Patel, Donald Trump, quote, authorized the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, last I checked, Donald Trump, not a U.S. attorney, not the U.S. attorney, not the attorney general, none of those things. So why is Donald Trump, quote, authorizing indictments? Not only is that a egregious misstatement of law and procedure, it's just a lie, but Patel is trying to do something here, right? He's trying to elevate his boss, his cult leader, into some status that makes him seem like Donald Trump has been trying to pursue justice for the victims of Epstein, when clearly we know that he hasn't, because Donald Trump is the sole gatekeeper for the information about the Epstein Files. Trump is the reason why we don't have the entirety of the Epstein Files having been released. And then Jayapal, man, she freaking brings the heat. And what does she say? As you heard her say, she was demanding, why will Patel not be with the victims? Why will he continue the cover-up? And then did you hear what she said? Cover-up for rich and powerful men, maybe even men on this committee. Let me tell you something. Men on this committee, she freaking went there, and I am glad. Because there are politicians that are implicated in the Epstein Files, and they themselves should not get a pass as well for their culpability in dealing with Epstein. I mean, look, this is just a sampling of what happened today, and I was a little bit of a captive audience because I was on a plane flying from the East Coast to the West Coast. I find myself to be in Los Angeles right now. Occupied LA, which is just horrible and illegal and violative of the Posse Comitatus Act. But I was able to watch a lot of this hearing today. And, you know, I'm glad because the total kind of shit show exchange that was going on today was so dumb. It was the Republicans trying to blame the prior administrations for their failure to be able to turn over these files, even though that's not the case. Remember, it's Donald Trump who said on the campaign trail, he made a pledge on his campaign trail that he was going to turn over the entirety of the Epstein Files. And then we actually had people like Congressman Jamie Raskin, who did an effective job of splicing together all of Kash Patel's own promises and claims that the FBI director is the person who's holding onto the black book, the client list of Epstein. And when questioned, he's like, oh yeah, it's just the Rolodex. And no, Raskin was not going to let that go. Raskin made it clear that according to Patel, it's actually a separate book that is kept. So, I mean, look, maybe Patel and others have just been blowing, smoke up other people's asses about what's going on here. But if you're going to say it and then you're going to take a role like the director of the FBI, you better be ready to have to answer questions about whether or not you're being credible and whether or not you've been telling the truth about the scope of the evidence, about the extent of the evidence, about where the evidence is, etc. Right? Here's the other thing. What really is a huge takeaway today is this. The Epstein Files are not a hoax. So even though Donald Trump wants to run around and say that the Epstein Files are a hoax, what we're hearing today is the Epstein Files are not a hoax. The Republicans want it to go away. And the Republicans today also made it seem like there's been some pogrom or persecution of Catholics and Christianity, et cetera, by prior FBIs. I mean, it was a total indictment of prior FBI iterations under different directors, including Chris Wray, who was a Trump pick, right? But according to the Republicans, there was something foul and amiss with those prior FBIs. Here's the thing. The fish rots from the head down. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that are working for the FBI that are doing a fantastic job to the best of their abilities. And you know what? Look, I'm glad. I'm glad if there are palpable reductions in crime and that public safety is improved, et cetera. But I'm not seeing that to be the case. The same day that Charlie Kirk was shot, there were 2 kids that were shot in a school. And that's why I appreciated Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove. She walked through all the examples of domestic terrorism at the hands of white supremacists that have been happening. We also heard that from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She made it very clear that this FBI doesn't give or any type of, reassurances that they're going to prosecute the crimes that are actually the ones that are impacting people. But Kash Patel, he'll be breaking bread at Rouse when his good friend gets shot and killed and he doesn't leave immediately to be able to go fix it or investigate it. Kind of makes you wonder, right? Anyway, I wanted to touch base with y'all, check in with y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you've got some free time, go and take a listen to these. There are some clips that are available on C-SPAN, and it's totally worth your time. Check it out because Patel's going to go home now, and he's going to sit there and worry about his little note cards that he wasn't able to, quickly get to be able to answer these questions. Be mad, be outraged, demand accountability. I'll see y'all on the other side. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.